Hello, everyone. Rurikhan here, coming at you with another episode of the Third Fleet podcast. And today we have a very special guest. And let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen, this is the most dedicated guest we've ever had on this podcast, because a long time ago I asked him, hey, Socks, can you come on the podcast? And Socks is like, I don't know, it's kind of hard because, Capcom stuff and whatnot. So he basically quit his job so that he could be here, guys. He's the most dedicated fan, the most dedicated guest we ever had on the podcast. How you doing, Socks?
What's poppin', man? Yeah, I went through the trenches to get here. Thank you for having me. Thank you for being patient. It was a lot of effort, but I'm here.
How you doing, Gaijin?
Socks is also doing good. It's good to see Socks. It's good to see you again. I haven't seen you in ever. I mean Socks is the only person. He's the only one in the world who has arm wrestled Yuna. Fun fact.
Oh, really?
True. Yeah. I lost as well. It was pretty bad.
I think he was being a little nice, but no, she remembers you and Arekkz coming out here very fondly. We had a good time.
It was great, man. Yeah, we went to this restaurant in where was it? That's right. And it was like a fishing restaurant where you had to catch your own fish. And it was like a lower price if you caught your own fish. And then they would like make a massive sing and dance about it if you caught your own. So it was amazing. It was so good.
We had like a co-op action. Like Arekkz had a big fish and he whipped it up so hard that it hit the ceiling and fell back in.
That's right.
And so then Yuna came out with the big net and he got it and then she caught it. It was really fun.
It was pretty cool, man. Yeah, I want to go back. I miss Japan.
Thank you for quitting your amazing run of community manager just to come on the podcast. It's so flattering.
I mean, it's an important podcast. What can I say? It needed to be done. Yeah. No,
can we just start out by saying, like, congrats? I know you're not currently employed with Capcom, but this is very much you're part of the reason why this milestone was hit. But World just hit 20 million copies shipped across the world. That is
crazy, man.
Well deserved and insane. And thank you for being such a big part of that.
Thank you. I don't feel like I was that big a part of it at all, really, to be honest. I think I was just like a cog in the machine. But it's so cool to see like a game that I worked on in like, I think it's like the top games sold of all time or something now. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it would now be technically 50. I think on the top 50. Yeah,
it's on the top 50 of games sold of all times. I feel like we got a little bit ahead of ourselves because for those of you that are not aware, in the podcast, Socks was the community manager for Monster Hunter for a couple of years at least. I don't know exactly how much time. When did you join Capcom? If I'm allowed to ask, because like I don't want you breaking any NDAs or anything.
Spies outside the house, like watch out.
So I started at Capcom in August 2016 after Jake, aka Drake Hunter, had just finished up his time there. So I was there for about 5 years, I think.
Wow.
I joined just at the start of Generations on 3DS. I think it just launched, or maybe it was like 2 months it'd been out or something like that. And I basically got stuck straight into the World campaign the moment I joined, which was very, very cool. But yeah, it's the longest job I've been in. 5 years. 5 years was that, my time at Capcom.
So 2016, you were already, but was World even like publicly known at that time? No, it was like
Not
17 when it became known, right? Like in E3 17? Yeah.
That must have been a hell of a day one, like, welcome to the company. Then let me show you something that you can never talk to anybody about. Like, oh my God, what is that?
It was wild. And the thing is, right, so for me, like I kind of had an inkling that something big was coming. Just because I've been working in games for like 10 years already or so. So you kind of get like when you work inside development studios, you kind of get a feel for, there's different teams. Someone must be working on something big is brewing. I was like, Generations has come out, which is basically, it was really crude of me to say at the time. I was like, it's basically the same generation of Monster Hunter that's just come out. So clearly this feels like the game that's kind of just being put out there because there's something else bigger on the scenes. I was like, there's something big brewing for Monster Hunter. And this was back when I was not the CM and I would be pestering Jake. I was like, Jake, I know something huge is coming. You need to let me know. And he's like, I ain't telling you nothing.
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're
talking to you about anything. So on my first day, I was like, guys, don't hide the secrets from me. There's something huge for Monster Hunter. Let's go. Talk to me about it. So they sat me down in this room, put me down in front of this PS4, and I'm just like, okay. World boots up. Ancient Forest, you know, the first start of the game. I was just
man.
oh my, what is this Monster Hunter now? And just feeling like so many of like the quality of life changes like straight away. So even like when you block with shield and being able to walk with like sword and shield, I was like, this is weird. This is something that I've never experienced before. Like the ability to, you know, readjust myself in a Monster Hunter game. It felt forgiving, but in a way that didn't feel like it was taking skill away from the player. Yeah, I just lost my mind. I was like, this is the game that's going to blow people away. I was like, what about generations over it?
I feel like a lot of people don't understand just how meaningful it was at that time, like in 2016, when you just said, like, they set me down in front of a PlayStation 4. People are like, well, what's the big deal? Well, you guys don't understand that Monster Hunter had been exclusive to Nintendo for God knows how many years at that point. Because, like, when was it that it ended for PlayStation? It was Portable Third, right? At that point, it's like, this is over for PlayStation. From now on, it's just Nintendo. So in 2016, being sat in front of a PlayStation 4 when you're about to talk about Monster Hunter, you're like, wait, what? What's going on here? This is some weird stuff.
This doesn't make any sense. So there's me going into like my impressions of the job being like, oh yeah, it's going to be like quite intimate because it's going to be community management with local scenes, making sure that people get to play together in public, that kind of stuff. And I was like, no, this is not, that idea of community management had to go out the window. And it was so weird because obviously for me watching and being close to the London scene of community of the Monster Hunter community, seeing how Jake did his job, I'm obviously trying to take cues of how he did things and how he developed the community during his tenure. And then seeing that I can't take any notes from him whatsoever in how he did things, and just having to now learn this on the fly on how to community manage an online game that's strictly online was a wild experience for me. Yeah, but I wouldn't take it away for the world. It was such an adventure to go on. 100%.
It was friggin' insane. Because like I remember, I don't remember how I came across the tweet where you said that you were the community manager for Monster Hunter, but I was like, I gotta find a way to meet him because like this was like Monster Hunter World was kind of like my big shot to jump into the Monster Hunter community, because before that is like all the Monster Hunter came out 1 year earlier in Japan. So everybody would be watching Gaijin's videos because he's the only one that like would be able to get it translated, talk about it. And I'm like, I can't do that. By the time I talk about these games, they've been out for like a year, and most of the really hardcore people would be importing it. So I'm like, I gotta meet this guy. I gotta meet Socks. And then you tweeted about how you were gonna be at Gamescom. And that year I was like, I wasn't gonna go to Gamescom that year. I was like, I'm skipping Gamescom, whatever. And I was like, oh crap, he's gonna be there. I have to go. So I go to Gamescom basically just to go meet you. And the best part about this, yeah, I did. But listen, the best part about this is like I message him on Twitter because like my DMs are open. So I message him on Twitter, and I
know exactly what you're going to say here as well.
Yeah, I know you know. So he goes like, so what's your nationality or something like that? And I'm like, oh, I'm Portuguese. And he's like, well, then you have to go through Yuri because I only deal with Europe. And I was like,
oh.
Right, let me explain.
Let
me explain.
Yeah, yes, please explain for the Portuguese Monster Hunter community. Please do.
My geography is good, but there's a running joke between me and Yuri, because he's Brazilian, where I just basically say that he's from different nationalities to the ones that he actually are. And one of those happens to be that he's from Portugal. So when you said that, my mind was going, oh yeah, he needs to speak to Yuri. And then I was like, wait, no, that's not true, because
inside joke became reality.
Yeah. So my brain instantly was like connecting the two dots which shouldn't have been connected at all. So yeah, that is my bad. I'm not racist.
It was so funny. And here's the thing. To this day, whenever I hear like the Wildspire music in Monster Hunter World, like my brain associated the Wildspire music with you because that's the first time that I heard the Wildspire. Because like we had just met in Gamescom and you were like, oh dude, they're doing this big presentation on the stage. You have to go. So you just kind of like run through to the stage and it's like, boom, they reveal Wildspire Wastes right there. And I was like, oh my God, that looks amazing.
Oh yeah, man, that's going back some time. That was such a stressful period for me because that was the first hands-on as well that people had with the game.
Yeah,
and I remember people before that at E3 kind of being on the fence about Monster Hunter World and thinking, is this actually Monster Hunter? Have they just taken the name of Monster Hunter and completely trashed it and made some weird RPG? I remember having to do like put out a lot of fires on social media to be like, trust me guys, this is Monster Hunter, like don't be scared, like let's go on this adventure together. So when people finally got their hands on it and being able to like have that confirmation themselves rather than just having to trust me, I was like, oh thank goodness, like everyone understands that this is actually Monster Hunter. This isn't just like some trash game. Like I didn't want what happened to like, even though I really like the DMC game, the one that Ninja Theory did, a lot of people don't like that game and kind of see it as like the weird thing that Capcom tried to do, and I didn't want Monster Hunter World to be that thing. So there was always that thought in the back of my mind that people would just react to it terribly, but I'm so glad it went the way it did. So Gamescom was like a very stressful but very special time for me.
And E3, Gaijin, you were there that E3, right? When they revealed Monster Hunter World?
Yeah, it was my first E3 I've ever been to, and I've only ever been to one. So I was in town on another matter, and it was like the last day of E3, and I'm like, oh my, I want to go. So with friend connections and everything, so I ended up going. I pretty much just went to go look at the Capcom booth, and because E3 is not what you think it is. It is a trade show, like for better or worse. It's not the dreamy thing you imagine as a kid. So it's kind of sad having that dream shattered, you know? Like as a kid, you think of like, you know, like, oh my God, like working in Nintendo must be like Tom Hanks and big or something. And you're like, it is fun, but it's not really like what you think it is. But I went straight to the Capcom booth. Yuri was there. Arekkz was there. Duncan and Miss Berry were there. Like everyone was there. Like even Kogath was there.
I wasn't there.
I know. I didn't even know you yet. Matt Walker was there. He's the producer for Devil May Cry, and we're friends. And we got to prance live on TV and get Yozo to get distracted. It was really fun, and that was a hell of an E3. But that was a really special moment. That was the first time I ever met a lot of people.
I think so, yeah. Like for me as well, like a lot of like the friends I'd met in the community before I joined, I'd only interacted with online. So having the ability to like meet these people in person was such a cool thing. But fun fact about E3, I didn't actually at that point I hadn't actually played the whole game, or just I'd only played like that small sliver of the game that I played before. In fact, a more polished demo of that, the same thing that you saw at the E3 demo. So I hadn't touched Charge Blade at all until that moment. I didn't even play Charge Blade at E3, but Yuri called me in to see the demo because I hadn't seen the live show that you guys had seen yet, and he's like, dude, Charge Blade has some cool stuff. I need to show you the charged sword thing. Like I was just like, what is this? This is crazy. So it was really cool as like from a fan as well, just be able to see like new stuff that I didn't get a chance to see, even though I worked at the company at the time. That it was quite cool to still be able to share in that kind of magic of having the reveal. It was very cool.
Yeah, that was definitely like one of the most memorable E3s, even though I wasn't there for that one. But like, it's just that moment in the Sony presentation where it's just like, you know, you see the character going in through the vines and moving, and I'm like, that looks like Monster. There's no way that can't be Monster Hunter. And then suddenly it's like you actually start hearing the music. I'm like, oh my God. It's just like, dude, what's going on? This is insane. But yeah, that was like super, super special, and just like such an amazing like vibe from the community at that point, because everybody was just like, oh, this is fucking awesome. And so many new people ended up coming to the community as well that it was just complete insanity.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Yeah, it was nice that I feel like World launched at a really great time, because it was kind of in that period where Destiny 2 wasn't too great as well. It's got a lot better now, but there was like a hunger with a lot of people for like a game to kind of be social and hang out with friends and not necessarily have to like grind too hard, but just enjoy yourself, you know? So there was a big gap, I feel, that people were looking for. So it was nice to see so many people that I wouldn't expect to jump on Monster Hunter for, you know, let me give it a try and actually enjoy it and now play it like as the same way they used to play other games, which is, it's amazing, right? It's kind of the reason why we get into community management, because we kind of want to see people, you know, get into and get hooked into the things that you're into. So it was just nice to see that happen in like a massive scale.
Say we can't call it a niche or call it classic anymore. This is mainstream, baby.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Monster Hunter
It's
World,
a big game.
it definitely brought it.
Ooh, earthquake. Hang on a second. Earthquake.
Whoa.
Hang on a second. Small one? Medium?
You okay?
Medium. Yeah, it's just shaking though.
It's like there was a minor earthquake in Japan just now. It's all good.
Nah,
Don't even worry.
the alarms
about it.
didn't go off, so we're okay.
Do you know what's funny, right? I thought you meant like world cause an earthquake in terms of like the cultural impact it had, but you literally was having an earthquake.
Yeah. I don't know if you. Yeah, my camera's too zoomed in. You probably didn't get to see it, but it was shaking. It's pretty good.
No, I saw the wobble. I saw the wobble.
Yeah, we saw the wobble, but it's like it's just a natural thing. Guys just like very chill, just like holds on to the door. Man, this is fine. It's not even a problem.
Yeah, there's a reason. Like no one could see it, but I have a little Suica on my mic.
Oh yeah,
and she hangs, and so. It's so often like when you're at because I have a big desk. I like big open spaces. There's a lot of times where you'll get rattles and you don't know what it is, but like when you've got that one thing that if it's really a quake, it'll be shaken. So I always look over to her and she's like, shh, okay, there's a quake going on. It's not just me sleep deprivated and thinking that someone's tilting the room on me, which happens.
But yeah, so
Sorry.
with the eventual release of Monster Hunter World, my channel actually blew up at the time. I was like, dude, this is insane. Because like I started doing weapon guides and stuff because I knew how some of the weapons worked, mostly because of Gaijin, because I had watched like previous Gaijin videos for previous monsters. And I'm like, well, I know how to do this thing and that thing. And then I'd be like, okay, I just have to figure out these other things. I remember when I did my Charge Blade videos, one of the first things that I wanted to mention is like, okay, guys, here's how you charge your sword. Because I know that 90% of you only came here to figure out the input of how to charge a damn sword. So I actually made that like one of the first things that I put in the video. Okay, here's how you charge a shield. Here's how you charge your sword. You can leave now. And I'll start talking about the rest of the guide.
I think we've all watched one of Adam's videos back in the day to learn something. I remember distinctly in 4U just not understanding how to get the most out of Charge Blade, funnily enough, as well. And watching your video against Molten Tiggy going, this is how you guard point. This is just a walk in the park. And for me, Tigrex has always been like the worst fight I've ever had to deal with a monster, just because he's so relentless. He always attacks you like straight on. I don't know how to combat him. So just seeing you take him on so effortlessly and going, this is literally the weapon for me. Like I can read his attacks and now I know what I'm supposed to do against it. This is amazing.
Yeah.
That was an awesome video for me. Charge Blade is amazing. I love it.
So is Charge Blade
weapon.
like your favorite weapon from your early testing of the game and stuff like that? Or because I know that when the game actually came out, you were just going after greatsword, just like big meaty chops.
See, I went after Greatsword when the game came out because I've never really played Greatsword in previous Monster Hunters, and I was like, I want to use the weapon which for me feels the most challenging. And because it's so slow and you have to be really deliberate, you have to really learn the monsters. And then when I kind of got into that, and then you get rewarded by seeing those thick damage numbers on screen, I was like, I get it now. Like I understand why people like this weapon. I thought as a CM I should probably at least know all the weapons, so that when people go, hey man, this weapon's broken, blah blah blah, I'm like, okay, I actually understand where you're coming from, rather than just going, I'm just going to pass this feedback on to the dev team, because that way it's a little bit easier to filter out where people are kind of being a little bit too biased towards what their weapons are, what they like, or what's supposed to be part of like the weapons playstyle. But yeah, I think for me, hands down, Charge Blade is like my favorite weapon. I got some cool stories actually about that. So the gameplay, what was his title at the time? I think he was the gameplay director maybe at Capcom for the weapons. I can't remember the exact title, but he was managing all the weapons and all the different programmers and stuff who were looking after each weapon type. And he was also the creator of Charge Blade back in 4U. And I was like, dude, what made you think of making the Charge Blade? Why? How did you think? He's like, I thought the sword and shield was trash, and I wanted to make a better sword and shield. And I was just like, oh my gosh, you're amazing. I was like, you're amazing. I was like, you are. No. I was like, you've just made this weapon 10 times better for me.
Jeez.
Because you're just such a badass. His name's Tereki Endo, and he doesn't work at Capcom anymore. But he also he went to Square Enix, and he's now the battle director on. He was the battle director rather on Final Fantasy XIV remake. So all the cool
Oh.
mechanics and stuff that you see there, you can kind of see like he's got.
Wait, is this the same guy who worked on Dogma?
I'm not sure whether he worked on Dogma, but he definitely worked on For You and somebody else. Teriki Endo, his name is. So yeah,
Dude,
he's
the combat of 7, in at least in my of 7 remake, in my opinion, is friggin' outstanding. Like, I really, really liked it. It's a really good
it
combat.
clicks, man. They've done such a good job of like making sure it lives up to today's standards of how we want like that fast-paced, high-action kind of gameplay, while still staying very, very true to the original.
Yeah.
I don't know how they've managed to do that in such a way. They could have gone so badly. They could have made that game feel so bad. But yeah, it feels amazing.
because there's just so many people that worship Final Fantasy VII to like some crazy levels, and you know, I always thought, I think I even said it multiple times when they were talking about the remake. I always said like, there's no way this game can ever live up to fans' expectations. It's completely impossible. And then I played it and I was like, no, this game's actually really good. I personally really like it, even though I know that there's still a lot of fans that are like, but it's split into like however many parts they're going to do. And it's like, yeah, but it's still like 40 hours of game or something ridiculous like that. Like, I don't think it's that big of a deal.
100%. I love how much it's like fleshed out now compared to the original. Like, I feel like you actually get more engrossed in the world, and with a JRPG, that's exactly what you want. You know, you want to feel like you're living in it. And yeah, they did an amazing job. Amazing job.
So...
No, okay, sorry. So I'll just
Go ahead.
correct myself. The Dragon's Dogma battle person was Ryota Suzuki, and he actually joined Square Enix as well. And I think he worked together with Endo.
Oh, awesome.
So you get like the best of both worlds.
Isn't that the one that they poached to get in on the combat of Final Fantasy XVI? Because I know that the person who... they had someone who worked like on Devil May Cry and Dogma.
Yeah.
And they put that person on
must be
Final
him,
Fantasy 16. Oh, man.
I can't wait for that game.
It's like... And I'll tell you right now, you've never played 14, right, Socks?
I have no. Actually, no. I have. I played it. Not at the terrible launch. I played it at the relaunch when it came out.
Yeah, Realm Reborn.
And I jumped on that
You're
for
right.
maybe 40
It's
hours.
FF16.
Yeah, because like the team that is working on 16 is the same team that is basically responsible for the success of Final Fantasy 14.
Right.
So
Yoshi P's team, right?
It's Creative Business Unit 3. So like when it comes to 16, I know the game's not even out. We only saw like one trailer, but it's like I can guarantee you that game's gonna be amazing. Like there's not even a shadow of a doubt in my mind that game's gonna be awesome.
I can't wait, man. I can't wait. I'm still quite burned after Final Fantasy 15. Like, I did enjoy it, but for me, as someone who grew up seeing that first trailer for Final Fantasy Versus 13 and seeing it develop into this game, which was not really anything like what it originally started off, it's kind of disappointing. I did enjoy it still, but not as much as I know that I would have enjoyed the original game. I can feel it in my bones. Like that was the game that I wanted to play. But yeah. Hopefully 16 is exactly what I want it to be. I can't wait for that.
While we're on the topic of Final Fantasy, before we hop off again, I just want to bring you guys a very interesting little factoid that got revealed last week. Final Fantasy XIV is now the most profitable Final Fantasy game.
Yep.
That's huge. That's huge.
Exactly.
I just can't wait for the day if they ever I mean it's a Japanese company, so probably not, but like they need to make a documentary about how Yoshi and the team pulled that thing back together, because that's a tale for the ages. Like, that is such a success story coming from such a bad disaster. Like, I've seen the fan made videos and I know the history, but I want an actual documentary, like with actual footage from during the dev cycle of like how did they actually approach such an unapproachable thing and pull it around. It's just absolutely amazing.
I think especially as like a Japanese developer as well, like normally it's such a strict and structured process in how the games are developed, that to then look at something which has not turned out alright, normally that'd be the reason just to bin it and put it to the side and let's start again and do something else. But to actually go into the trenches and go, let's fix this, is such a wild thing that you don't really see.
I mean, I don't know if you guys have watched the No Clip documentary, because that is you wait, you haven't, Gaijin?
No, I haven't.
Wait, no.
No Clip documentary.
Is that
That's
Wait,
from
this is about.
the no clip documentary of Final Fantasy actually documents all
is
the
that
stuff
the-
that you're
is that-
talking about
is that
with
the
Daniel
ha
Dwyer.
ha 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 ha?
No,
It is
no,
the
no, no.
fire.
It's not
Not
that
that
one.
one.
No. That's what that was a fan made one. This one's from Daniel Dwyer, who used to work, I believe, at GameSpot, and he then started his own project, which is no clip, where he just like goes to. I think he actually might have done something with Monster Hunter as well, right, Socks?
I'm not too sure actually. I recognize the name, but I'm not sure what he's done with Monster Hunter.
Yeah, but it's like he does a lot of documentaries about like some development stories of video games and stuff, and he actually did like a 3-part series on 14 where they they specifically go into detail about that because like again I don't want to get too deep into Final Fantasy 14 because people want to talk about Monster Hunter and stuff. But it's like
Because wait, because I gotta say I'm gonna interrupt you here.
Yeah,
I was ordered. I was commanded. I have restrictions placed upon me today.
No,
that I'm not allowed to talk about a certain game because I won't shut up about it.
I never said that.
Now he's rubbing it in my face by talking about Final Fantasy so much. So
I'm gonna open up the game. What game is this, Adam, that you're not allowed to talk about?
I'm not allowed to say. I'll be killed on spot probably. Like my computer will blow up. It's like Squid Games or something. Like player 1 eliminated.
I didn't say you couldn't talk about it. I just said we need to talk more about Monster Hunter. But it's just like, listen, real quick, it's like the way that he did it, in case you guys weren't aware, was like Yoshida, when he came in, he was just like, okay, so first we got to respect the players that already bought the game. So we need to patch the game that exists. But secretly, what we're going to do is we're going to make a new game at the same time. So he was patching the existing game and adding quality of life features, despite the fact that he knew he wasn't going to be supporting that game. Just to kind of like build goodwill with the players that had bought the game. That's how he did it.
He's like in the top 3 of beloved people in the game industry right now.
Oh yeah.
The amount he has connected with the fans and seeing what he's doing now with his tour, talking to everybody and like just how passionate he is about it, it's just insane.
It is.
So I'm happy to see there's a lot of people who are passionate and do really good work, and for whatever reason it just doesn't hit, right? Like some games just don't hit for certain reasons. It's nice to see good guys win, like to see the good projects do really well, and that's how I feel about World, like it's just so satisfying.
Yeah, 14 feels like the game that I've missed out on because I would want to get into it, but it feels like the amount of time investment that would have to get into the good part as it is.
It's
now.
not
like,
a game,
it seems like
it's a lifestyle.
That's it. And
It's like
I ain't got time for another
you
one.
guys. I'm really trying to move
It's got
us
a
back
free
to Monster
trial.
Hunter, but you guys keep like talking about these things, and I have to explain to you. Listen, Sucks. When you play 14, and because I want to make sure that everybody understands, because everybody has that notion of what you just said, which is like, well, the good part is like, no. When you play 14, like, listen, I started playing it when Shadowbringers came out, which is the current expansion, and I basically did not rush the Shadowbringers. I just like slowly played the entirety of the game. And it is worth it for you to just like play the game like that. Even if you play it almost as like a single player game, the story is so good that it is worth it to play it like that. And the way that they develop the game, unlike most other MMOs, they don't make like their previous expansion content like useless. So it's still good content for people to do, and there's still reasons for veterans to go and do that content. So it's just a fun experience all the way through until you eventually get to the whatever current expansion is. And yeah.
Okay. So it's kind of like One Piece, then, where like, you don't want to rush it. You just want to enjoy it at the okay, cool.
Exactly. Yeah. But it's it's just a lot of fun. I can't recommend it enough. But let's move back into Monster Hunter before people. Actually, no. I'll tell you what. Gaijin, we talked about 14. You get to talk about Soul Sacrifice for a little bit. Just a little bit, though, not the whole episode.
No, I don't even know what what you're talking about. So I've got a question for Sox that he may not want to answer.
Okay.
Not answer, but I'm curious. I want to know what was harder for you, because it's people who work in the industry are exposed to privileged information, and it is part of the job to keep it to yourself, obviously, because it's your job and that's what you do. And some projects are harder than others because they get you so excited. And you can't tell anybody you're living with, your best friend. You have to keep it in for sometimes many years. And it can eat at you. So at the point that it's like, when it finally gets out, it's like this huge release. It's like, like I can finally breathe, Which was harder for you not to talk about? Monster Hunter World or Monster Hunter Rise? And why?
I think probably I think World from a personal fan perspective of being like excited for where Monster Hunter was going. I think Rise from a community management perspective, because understanding that the Nintendo community was quite hungry for a new title, and knowing that we had the answer there, and just see people going, "Oh yeah, Capcom sucks because they don't look after us," and you're like,
if they only knew. It's
I want to tell you. But for me, like keeping secrets themselves isn't actually that hard. Like my first gig in the industry was working at Rock City Studios. So I got to work on the Arkham City game, which is like one of my favorite games of all time. But I left at the very, very start of the development of Arkham Knight, and that game didn't come out for like another 5 years later. So for me, yeah, like having to keep secrets in this industry doesn't really feel like that big of a deal anymore. Like even now, like I think
it's more about like what you were saying, right? It's not having to keep your mouth shut because that's just second nature. It's seeing all the online discourse, and it's just like it's not the right timing, and obviously the company will announce it, but it's just like if they only knew. It's like, oh my god, it's like it just kills you, right, to see it, because like for years people are talking about it, you're like, if they only knew. It's satisfying when you finally get to see it blow out there, and even then the initial reveal is only the initial reveal. So it's like, as someone who works on a project, you must get like really excited, like I can't wait until we can finally talk about this, and that.
Yeah, I think for me as well, is like I want to be part of the discourse, and it feels like I've got an unfair advantage because I've got the inside knowledge. So like even for example yesterday, Wyverian tweeted like, "Oh no, it looks like Capcom are gonna be owned by Sony." I was like, well, that just sounds ridiculous. But then I'm like, is that because I've got the inside knowledge that am I allowed to say that he's been ridiculous? Like what's I allowed to?
It's a difficult thing, right?
It's a very fine line. And yeah, it's like that. I don't know if did any of you guys watch Loki recently? There was a series that came on Disney.
I haven't watched it, no.
Okay, so without trying to get too spoiled, there's a character who's like aware of the future, and he's just very tired of the fact that he's aware of it. And they get to a point in the show where he suddenly reaches the point in time where he doesn't know anything else that's happening, and he just has this moment of bliss on his face where he's like, I don't know what's going to happen. This is great. I can't wait for like 5 years from now when I don't
when you finally don't know what's on the slate. Yeah,
I don't know what's on the slate for Capcom's releases, and I can just experience everything fresh as a fan. I don't need to know about any of these projects or I can't wait for that moment. Yeah.
I was gonna say, it's a cool thing, as I imagine, as a fan working on the franchise, but also it kind of puts you in a silo away from the rest of the community, right? Because you know stuff that you can't allude to. It's like you want to get involved, but you can't. You want to start guessing. Oh, I wonder if they have this. It's like you know the roster. It's like
this is it. This is the frustrating part, and it's nice that I had Yuri on like the inside to kind of get excited about that stuff. So you still have like that person who understands the game in the same way, because there's a lot of people at Capcom as well, both at Europe and USA, who play the games, but I doubt they play them to the same meticulous like level that myself and Yuri kind of understand them. So you can't really have those same conversations in the same manner. I'm so thankful that someone like Yuri was there to like be excited with me during that time, because if I was by myself, I think that would have been like the real loneliness, as it were, being the guy with all the knowledge.
I don't want to keep focusing on the community manager aspect and get more to about like you personally and the stuff that you're doing now. But I one thing I would love to let viewers know is, coming from someone who lives in Japan, people are like, well, how's the Japanese community manager for Monster Hunter? And I'm like, what? Japanese community manager? I don't know. Maybe there might be like a legal team that shuts down your video every now and then, but that's about it. I was like, Japan does not do community managers. They don't do social media correctly. I don't think they ever will. I'm hoping that the success that you know of World and other games, I pray that people realize how, you need a great game and you need a great marketing strategy, but part of that, integral part of that, is community managers.
Yeah.
And I think way too many people think that community managers are just people who run the Twitter or are cheerleaders. It's like there's so much more that goes on to that job that people don't get, and how important it is to have a face or an avenue to hear or listen or to, be behind the scenes. That it just kills me that people are like, well, you're in Japan, so like you and Yuri take care of me. And it's like,
yeah, pretty much.
There is no Japanese community manager. It doesn't exist because, not every country has woken up to the fact that these things are actually really important.
Yeah, 100%. And it's something that, Capcom is definitely getting better at, and you see other Japanese companies as well slowly getting better understanding how they need to interact with those, with fans. At the same time, it's tough because if you look at a game like Monster Hunter World, even though it's not a games as a service, it almost operates as one in terms of how people consume that content. And when you have companies like Bungie, which, in my opinion, set the standard of how community management should be done and how that, very honest communication with fans and community, people expect that from every company, even though that's not necessarily what's in their current wheelhouse or they have the ability to produce. And I think just having that awareness is something that a lot of fans don't have, and even content creators will not be aware that that happens. We've seen, myself and you have seen ourselves, where like content creators we work with will openly roast Monster Hunter and at Monster Hunter, not understanding that it's actually us who are running these things and seeing how these things are being discussed, and then going, well, come on, that shows like a lack of awareness of how different businesses operate or what the finer parts are. I'd just like to see more growth on that side of things, rather than it just being necessarily Capcom has to work harder or this X company has to work harder, because I think it goes both ways 100%. It was tough being in the middle, man.
I was gonna say, like, maybe not specific to Capcom, but like I'm kind of curious, like if there's anything like the biggest good surprise about community management that you experience, like, oh, I didn't know that, or like that's really great, or the most disappointing aspect of community management that maybe restrictions that are still there. And
I would say
for the future aspiring person who thinks that this is a field they may want to get into.
Yeah, I think if you're a fan of the game, be in for a lot of pain and hurt. It's the way that I would put it. Because you what's tough in, I'll go with the tough part first. What's tough in community management is that, especially if you're a fan of the games, or you understand the games in a deeper level, you see those car crashes before they happen because you often get access to the games earlier, and then it's in your job to then try and make those cases for why things should get changed or get fixed, and put those cases together. And trying to do that without the evidence of a community who are currently angry or raging is quite tough, because the only voice that you've got to go on that is your own. And then when those things don't get fixed, and then you do see the community reaction, that's quite a tough position to be in. So the way I've always likened it, which is one of the reasons I've left really, is it's like you're in a car with no seatbelt, you see the car crash about to happen, you tell the driver, and they continue to drive anyway, and then you're there left to deal with the pieces of the car crash with no seatbelt and having to put the pieces back together, which is your body. So it can be quite tough. It sounds like a harrowing experience, but it can be quite tough. And I don't want to give examples, but if you think about some of the big things that people complained about on some of the games that I've worked on, I guarantee you that I thought that first before you did. Like it's one of those things that we've all had to deal with. So yeah, it's tough. It's tough if you're a fan to be part of these games, because you feel like you're in the middle and you're trying to make sure that what the community wants gets across to the dev team understands that, and vice versa. What the dev team and their vision for the games also gets pushed back towards the community. So it's very hard being trying to do that, especially at a company where it's literally two different cultures. Very Japanese on one side, very Western on the other, and what we're having to deal with, and trying to bridge that gap is such a struggle. And I don't envy anyone that tries to do that job. It's very tough. For me though, seeing people come together in this game and click with this game has always been like the thing that I enjoyed and what kind of keeps me going. It's never really necessarily been my personal love for the game. It's seeing people get into it, and that's why I was part of like the community before I was a community manager as well, like going to these events and seeing people have that light bulb moment of going, I understand Monster Hunter. Like for me personally, I've been playing Monster Hunter since the first one. I didn't enjoy the first one. It only really clicked with me when my brain had developed a little bit, and I saw my friend playing it, and he sharpened his greatsword, and I was like, "Why did you sharpen your greatsword?" And he was like, "Please keep my weapons sharp. It's a hunting game." And I was just like, "Oh my god, this game's amazing!" And it suddenly clicked to me why I needed to be excited about Monster Hunter. Before then, I was just like, "This game just feels slow and clunky." I didn't really get it. Like these everything just doesn't feel right. But in the moment I saw that, I was like, "No, this is like a simulator. Like you're trying to sell this world to people and make them feel like they're actually having to hunt stuff. This isn't just let me just attack this thing." That's why you're not enjoying the greatsword. Like you're actually trying to take down these beasts and learn them and check their patterns and stuff. And that's when it clicked for me. And when you see that moment in other people where they go, "Oh, I get it. Like he's gonna do this thing that I dodge here," or or understanding what items need to bring out in the quest and stuff like that. And then you're just like, yes, like you get this game now. Now the loot drops have got you. I don't even have to do anything. Like this, you go have fun. It's amazing.
Yeah. It's like a baptism or something. It's like you've
exactly.
seen the light. Go, my friend, explore.
It's like, interestingly enough, that thing that you just described is actually the main reason I got into content creation. Like the very first video that I ever did that included gameplay was me trying to teach people how to tank in World of Warcraft. And then in the second channel that I started working on, which is this one right now, the first couple of videos that I made was me telling people Dark Souls is not as hard as you think. Dark Souls is actually not hard at all if you just master, listen, here's how you block, here's why you need to stop blocking to regain your stamina, to do this. And then I've seen that moment that you're describing where it clicked for so many people. They're like, "Oh my God, I got into this game and I hated it, and now I understand." And they just get like into it so hard. Like there was a lot of people even that then they start describing things in the game like, "Oh, now I'm running like soul level 1," and I'm just like, "Dude, I don't even do that. That's crazy." So level 1's like going through the whole game without leveling up, and I'm just like, "That's insane, dude. I don't want to do that. Doesn't sound fun at all." But sure, you do you. But yeah, when that moment I love about clicks is just really cool to see it in people, because like I still get comments like that on some of my like weapon tutorials for both Monster Hunter World and Monster Hunter Rise. I still get comments of people like, "Oh man, I didn't get how this weapon worked. Now I do. This is amazing. I love this weapon." I'm like, cool. That's all I wanted. That makes me happy.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Yeah, like for me, gun lance was one of the weapons that I just didn't get in all the previous Monster Hunters, and I thought, you know what, I need to give it a go in World. And then once it clicked and I understood like normal playstyle, I was like, "Oh my goodness, this is so much fun!" Like. This is crazy. Yeah, absolutely. I can't wait to see what they do with like future games. I really hope to see like new weapons and stuff too, because just learning how you're supposed to play with that weapon alongside and like another threat is such a cool feeling. Like your brain's having to like do so much stuff at once. It's a very hard thing to describe. But yeah, it's like just
what I like is I've noticed that there's a side effect of that process, which is interesting, and I saw it with Hey Jay as well when he went through the process of learning the game, is that when you first play it, you're not aware of all the different things that go into each decision and each thing that you do. So it feels very slow and clunky because you're using the elevator time to literally just sit there on your butt and not think or plan or do any. There's nothing going on in your brain except I swung my sword. But then once you understand that it's not a traditional like action game, like it's leaning more towards it recently, but it's still a hunting game, right? And there's deliberate action. And once you understand and start to think and get involved in that other area, you're so busy and engaged that the battles just seem really fast. It's like, this shit's not slow. Like, it's fast. Like, it's really good pace. I don't know why it felt slow and clunky. It's like, it's because you weren't using any of that time to think. It's a crazy how it interacts with your brain like that. I love it.
Absolutely. I never thought about it that way, but it's 100% true. Like, even going back to like older Monster Hunters now, like I can't see how I thought they were slow in the slightest.
Yeah, if anything, you're running for your life in those games. It's like, oh God, no! It's like, give me a break, please.
Yeah.
Well, except for Hyper Silver Rathalos and Hyper Golden Rathian and Generations Ultimate, that's the only exception. There's no time to even breathe oxygen as you do that. That thing is just ridiculous.
I don't think I've done those two in GU actually. The last hunt I did in GU was maybe like a level 2 bloodbath. I think was maybe the
Yeah,
last thing.
that-
I haven't touched a lot of
That
video
quest
games
changes a person. It's you wake up in the middle of the night with cold sweats and
Hyper Silver Los and Gold Rathian was like the quest where I was
What a
like,
quest.
I can't use gun lance in this quest because basically all you do with the gun lance is like, well, I guess I'll just keep holding block until I run out of stamina and then I'll die.
Oh, God.
Those are my options.
Oh,
But,
man.
it was a rough quest.
Yeah, it's like I actually had some fun times with those quests because one of my friends was running Alchemy Charge Blade, and sometimes he was able to bring down Silver Los with like the little fireball. In the
Yeah.
It's like- and down comes Silver Los, and we'd laugh every time that he'd bring it because that thing deals like no damage. We actually looked at someone had figured out the values of damage on that thing, and we are like, oh wow,
Right.
this deals no damage whatsoever. How are you even doing that? That's insane.
Oh man,
But it is
got like a dunk modifier attached to it.
it's a lot of fun though. Like and it's like I have to say though, like a lot of as someone who obviously like I've worked with a lot of CMs for a lot of different games. Most CMs don't actually tend to play their games, unfortunately, which is sometimes it's kind of rough because you're trying to like get excited and talk about stuff and they're like, yeah, game's fun, isn't it? Yeah, I guess it is. It's like that's like a lot of contributions that you sometimes get, and it's like, oh man, it'd be so cool if you played it too, though.
I mean, my whole jump into the world of Dragon's Dogma is all thanks to Socks. Actually,
Yeah.
I would have never found that game.
Did
if
I-
it wasn't for you?
Did I just give you a code? I can't. Do we have like a big
Yeah,
conversation?
you're
Oh,
like Gaijin, you've played this game, right? I'm like, no. He's like, you know it's coming out on the Switch, right? No. You really should try it. Really? Yeah, here. Try it. Really? Try it. Oh my god. And I've bought in the game like 5 times now. I've gifted it like I think 15 or so times to people.
Oh wow.
I bought it for them.
Yeah.
I secret Santine people like codes of the game. I would just buy it and like gift the code to them, and I fell in love. And so Ruri got me into the game I can't mention. You got me into Dogma, so I owe a lot to you gentlemen for making sure my bank account doesn't go up too high.
It was actually really cool because, like, I remember back then, I was harassing Socks actually, like, Socks, I need Dragon's Dogma, dude. You got to give me like a code when that thing comes out on the Switch. And then suddenly I see Gaijin tweeting about it, like, yes, they got Gaijin. This is awesome. Because like Gaijin got really into it, like he was doing speed runs and stuff, and I'm like, damn, dude, I didn't even get into speed running.
So I think 19 minutes is my. I mean, obviously, it's not really the same as a typical speed run because it's not counting all the setup that you do and everything. But my best is 19 minutes.
That's crazy, man. I only got into Dragon's Dogma. I got into it quite late. Like I remember playing it on the PS4 version, and again, I didn't really click with it. But it was the CEO of Capcom, not CEO of Capcom, sorry, the COO of Capcom Europe at the time, or still is there now, said you need to play this game and you need to try Mystic Knight. And for me, that was quite a surprising thing because he doesn't seem to be the person who like plays games that much. Like he seems like he's a little bit older. He's like a dad that maybe plays games at the weekends for like 6 hours, and that's kind of it. But he was like, this super core RPG, you need to play very specifically this character, and then tell me what you think. And then I did the whole thing where you put the ball down and slap it and and I was just like, I understand. I get it.
He probably
Capcom
did
has
it.
so many of those like religious experiences, you know, like once you've been shown the light by somebody, all you can think about is I've got to spread this. My other friends aren't enjoying this. They have to. Oh my gosh. And if you don't like it, fine. But I know that 9 out of 10 are gonna love it. So it's like
I kind of feel like he told you to do the Mystic Knight because it's also a very technical class, and you were like so enamored with the Charge Blade that he was like, okay, this is definitely gonna be the thing for you.
Yeah. He's like, your
Mystic
frames
Knight
gonna drop.
in Bitter Black Isle though with Mystic Knight is a blast.
Dude, I got into Dragon's Dogma the second that game came out, and I just like I never got out of it because I was like, dude, this game is so good, so incredibly underrated. It is ridiculous that more people aren't talking about it. That game is just amazing.
So good. It's the same director as or producer as DMC5, right? Is it? who worked on.
Yeah, I think so,
Yeah.
because they gave him the choice of either doing DMC5 or Dragon's Dogma 2, and he chose the wrong game. I mean, DMC5 is an amazing game, don't get me wrong, but it ain't no Dragon's
Okay, well,
Dogma. Like, I'm
no.
sorry,
Well,
it ain't no Dragon's Dogma.
Wait. Well, let me say this. Would you have rather had DMC5 on the PlayStation 4 Dragon's Dogma 2 on the PlayStation 4, or would you rather have Dragon's Dogma 2 on the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X and PC?
Well, you say that now because you own a PlayStation 5. I'm not sure if you would say that a couple of months ago, Gaijin, because you didn't have a PlayStation.
I'm saying is, I'm just saying the power available to them on the current generation is like going to make that game even crazier.
Yeah. And, the MC5, because it's more of a contained thing with the limits of the areas whenever you actually get into combat. Like, it'll work fine on PS4 or PS5. It actually runs fantastic in PS5, but yeah.
And hey, COO just doubled down saying new strategy is we see the PC market growing. We don't think it's a fad, and we're going to double down.
Yep.
So that's a smart strategy because I also agree. I don't think it's a temporary trend either. I think it's an actual thing that's happening. I also think that hardware is getting really good to the point that there's enough. It's like the iPhone or Android phones. Like, they're so good that for most people now, when you buy it, like, we're enthusiasts, so we're not like this, but like the average person could buy a phone today. They're so good that they can go 5-6 years without changing them, and they're totally fine. Where it's like PCs now, and just the ability of just like modern day GPUs, if you can ever find them, even last generation GPUs are just so good now that it's like having a PC and just being able to have a good gaming experience and just keep that for many, many, many years is, I think, better than it's ever been. So, and that with just, staying at home culture, of course, and then just wanting and valuing the best possible experience, And just, I think the online community for PC has grown so much that I think it's a smart move. And if they can start doing day-to-day stuff, I know, Sox, you probably can't nod or say anything because I
cannot confirm or deny anything that you're about to ask.
Exactly. but like the word and language they use in both Japanese and English from the CEO was very promising, and they're putting their bets down. They're telling stakeholders, hey, we think by end of next year, like PC could be half of our sales. So it's going to be a first-class citizen. Like, we're going to start considering it a very serious platform to double down on, which is super great because I think the more people who can play a game, the better. So
absolutely,
that's all exciting to hear.
I've always been of the opinion that it's like, listen, because there's always that rivalry in consoles where it's like, my console's got this exclusive and this one. To me, it's always more about, listen, just like, this shouldn't matter. This should, like, if a game can run on anything, then it should run on anything except phones. I'm against mobile gaming. There you go.
That's a strong statement.
I mean,
why are you against mobile gaming? What is it about mobile gaming that
the thing? It's not all mobile gaming. It's mostly because a lot of mobile games, unfortunately, they end up being trash that is just designed to feed dopamine into your brain at unreasonable levels to the point where you just like get dopamine overdose and you don't even feel anything. A lot of games are designed around that. I'm talking like those typical just like tap games are just like, oh, you tap and boom, there's a dopamine hit, right? Because there are games like, for instance, obviously Stories. You told me about Stories and I remember distinctly I asked you, can you use a controller on Stories? And you're like, I think so. And I'm like, okay, I'm buying it. And then I couldn't. And I was like, God damn, it sucks. It did me dirty. You got me to buy this game and I can't even use a controller on it, so I can't, because like I can't stand touch controls. I need the tactile feedback of buttons.
I'm
like,
the same.
Call me a boomer, call me an old man, whatever. I don't care. Like touch controls will never work for me.
Okay, let me play the what if game. Haptic feedback has been getting better every year, right? Like we've got freaking iPhones that feel like they're tapping you, and there's no actual physical button there, and it's crazy voodoo stuff. So what if they start developing, I don't care what the company is, haptic feedback in the screen itself, so that when you press left on the screen, it feels like you're pressing left on a D-pad.
Yeah, I'm down.
And there's actual feedback.
If
that
it
would
feels like
be
sweet. I'm happy for it. Like I'm all up for don't get me wrong, I'm on the fence the same way that if it doesn't feel great, it's not going to feel great. But if they can make it feel rewarding to press, then I'm all for it.
Yeah.
Like, there's no reason
This
why
is
I
the-
wouldn't want to do that. Like, I had an iPhone
I
where
actually-
like the home button was didn't actually click down, but whenever I press it, it
Yeah.
felt like it clicked, and that was such like a
Crazy, isn't it?
yeah.
So when you turn the power off on those, it's just like, wait, what? It's
Yeah, like,
it's
it
nothing.
doesn't
It's like
move.
it's crazy.
Yeah, it's wild.
But I will say though, and I wonder if you guys can guess this. This is some Gaijin Hunter trivia for you. There's one mobile game, not recent, that I put in over 600 hours in. What game would it have been?
Mobile
600
game.
hours.
It's
And to this day, I would say it was a damn good game, and it was.
I saw
was
you
the
tweeting
right
about it. I
platform.
can't remember what it was as well.
Yeah, I
Like,
saw
Oh,
you
shit.
tweet about it too. God damn it!
I can't remember what it was. It
It's
wasn't.
not Idolmaster. No, I'm
It's
joking.
not Fire Emblem.
Because you've tweeted and you said like 3 games that you play on mobile. Wait. You put 6. Okay,
not
so
those.
if you put 600 hours into it,
600.
it can't be Fantasian.
Yeah. It was years ago.
Oh, it was years ago. Okay, then I'm never gonna get it. There's no way.
I can't
Infinity
remember.
Blade, the first Infinity Blade.
Oh, Infinity.
I put in over 600 hours, and I was at like
Wow.
the top. What was it, like 1,000 players in the world on that thing?
Oh
I
man.
put in that many hours. I think I was like my character level, like this is like a recursion thing. I think I had like minus 73 or something. Like it was crazy. Like the God King, I was just.
But that's just like-
that's a good fun action.
That's
game.
just like 10-hour loops or something, right? For that game.
It's-
I'm talking about the going from like the beginning to finish of the actual game, right? I would imagine it's about a 10-hour experience.
I wouldn't even. I can't recall, but.
Because you did it like
I mean, that's
60
basically.
times.
But that was. Well, no. I played a lot more than just that. I mean, it's more complicated than that. Like, there's other ways to do it. But I remember, like, that's a game that it's basically Mike Tyson's Punch Out, but it's with Dark Souls type characters. So you know,
Right.
you swipe it to the left and you stabbing him, and feedback. It's all there like that. That was fun. So I can't talk bad about mobile gaming. I just think that it's very different.
The thing is, very
Still.
few developers will actually make a game like Infinity Blade. For every Infinity Blade or game like that, there's going to be literally a
1,000
million other. No, I would say a
million, yeah.
million other just complete trash games that are just designed to, get you to tap your phone and not actually get anything meaningful out of it. That's one of the reasons. Because like I'm very much for whenever it comes to gaming, it's like I feel like games are actually incredibly positive, even in young children, because they teach you problem solving. Like you can look at, for instance, like a Zelda, and it gets your brain cogs to move, to think about, oh, how am I going to figure out this puzzle in this room? And there's like some kind of logic to it. And you might think, well, yeah, that's never going to really mean anything to you in real life. And if you think about it, people who have been to college are like, well, the stuff I learned in college doesn't necessarily instantly translate into the work market, but it does develop your cognitive functions to a point where you can then just like learn the stuff that you need to learn from work. And I feel like video games can actually fill that gap in children if you give them the right video games. And that is why I'm against mobile gaming, because a lot of the mobile games, they don't actually teach you anything about problem solving. They just make you a slave at clicking that screen and getting those dopamine hits. Like didn't they do like some kind of like weird experiments in mice or whatever with the weird boxes and I forget, whatever. You guys know.
I think they've done like Instagram and monkeys, and they interact with it the same way that people do, because it's just dopamine hits like the entire time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think for me, because I've been like I was a massive handheld gamer growing up, mobile games to me don't really appeal, just because they don't seem to have enough meat on the bones for me to want to play. Like I appreciate their existence, and I like to see more people get into gaming, but for me, they've never really scratched that itch that I kind of like. So even now, like I see people on the train with like their phones or iPads, and I'm there with my Switch. I'm like, this is clearly the better experience. Like this is what you want if you want to like do something in with your time on the train.
I've got a few mobile games that I play on the iPad, but I still have the same issue that I have with PC gaming actually, and everyone tells me I'm an idiot for saying this, but I like knowing that the outside world cannot contact me when I'm on my Switch. I like knowing that I don't get email notifications. I know I can turn that shit off on the PC. I know I can turn off driver updates. I can automate it, sure. But it's still there, and I know it's there. And just knowing that it's there, knocking behind the door, the foam insulation doesn't help me know that there's probably someone outside saying, going, hey, 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 you know? And I feel like I've actually ran away from the world when I'm on the Switch or the Vita or whatever game console it might be. Like, the dedicated console experience to me is special in that regard, is that I actually feel walled off, and that's what lets me get immersed, because there's no concern of being bugged.
Yeah,
you know?
I'm very thankful for that, especially in this world where like social media is so prevalent. It's just nice to have that. Yeah, I turned off notifications on like all my social media apps long time ago.
Yeah.
Unless I'm checking them personally, I am not seeing whether you tweeted me, DM'd me, or whatever. Yeah, it gets a bit much to try and keep on top of. That's one of the other reasons why I kind of left being a CM, because you're having to always be switched on. And like Adam says, having like a console which gives you that little bit of a respite is a nice thing.
I think that a lot of people, like, they might not understand, because like a lot of times some CMs that I follow on Twitter, like, they'll actually post messages that they receive from players, and it's insane some of the stuff that people, because like they'll get a no, right? They'll be like, no, I can't help you. And people will go on this tirade like, do your job. What do you mean you can't? This is your job. And it's like, dude, what the hell? Like, learn to take you know how many no's I've received when I contact CMs when I was starting out? I was like, every other message would be a no. It'd be like, no, sorry, can't help you. You're too small. You're this, you're that. Doesn't align with our vision of the brand. Like, so many. And it's like, okay, that's fine, whatever. It's like you just come back later when you're bigger, when you're more relevant. But no, people will be like, they'll go wild. They'll be like, nah, dude, you didn't answer the way that I wanted to. I can't believe you would do this. It's like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I have some horror stories. I won't tell any here, but
I can imagine.
I definitely have some horror stories.
So
I'll save them from after the podcast.
So keeping up with that theme though, with the horror stories though, There was like a sentiment when World came out from a lot of people. I felt like some of them probably like veterans of the Monster Hunter series, where they felt like the game changed too much, and they were just like, "This is not Monster Hunter." There were, I feel like most of the community was like, "No, this is definitely Monster Hunter." Like you were saying earlier, right? You're like, "No, guys, this is Monster Hunter." Most of the community did feel like that. But I do remember seeing a lot of like posts and stuff where people were like, oh, this is like Monster Hunter for babies, or this is not my Monster Hunter, whatever. Did you ever like, because you're a CM, you have to like look into this and see the community feedback, right? What was your experience with that?
I feel like maybe that's where my own personal bias came in with this a little bit, where I obviously am playing the game and I'm enjoying it myself. I can see where the things have improved, and it still has that DNA of Monster Hunter down to its very core. It didn't really feel like it was a big deal. It felt like, for me, the kind of thing that you always see on the internet, where it's people kind of, I'm going to get so much hate for this, like posturing to kind of show that they were there first, or part of the community first. And it always happens with games, right? Like, the new ones will have either new features in that you either like or you don't like. It's literally what it boils down to.
People don't like change, right?
This is it. And you see the same thing happening in like the Street Fighter series as well. People love Street Fighter 4, but may not necessarily like Street Fighter 5 as much. Same thing happened with like Guilty Gear Strive recently as well. People saying it's too much like Street Fighter 5, and they prefer the old Guilty Gears. But you know what? That's fine. If you prefer an older game, then play the older game. This one maybe isn't necessarily for you. You can clearly tell, in my opinion, that these games have been made with the thought and care of what actually makes these games Monster Hunter games, and trying to re-envision that on newer hardware and newer consoles where that may have not necessarily been possible before. So the fact there's like the tracker mechanics and all that kind of stuff, which maybe couldn't be done. I think the first vertical slice for Monster Hunter World didn't even have any like fighting in it. It was just going around the map, picking things up, collecting stuff, and just kind of getting that sense of like the world. And it just shows you, in my opinion, what's important to them as the brand of what it needs to feel like. So yeah, people have their opinions. It just wasn't the same one that I shared.
I think with Monster Hunter though, like, people have to realize the beauty, the fact that each game goes so much out of its way to have a unique take on the formula, but while maintaining the DNA, the fact that you can say, hey, this particular entry may just not be a hit for you, and that's fine, because you know what, the next entry is going to try something different, and it might be a super hit for you. And the fact is that it's not like some other franchises, which I won't name, but everyone already knows them. Like it's just the same thing every year. So it's like, at least okay, they're trying different stuff. Some of them are going to be bigger hits for me. Some are going to be smaller hits, but I got more cool stuff to look forward to. And they're like, but this whole notion of, well, if I don't scream this really loud and use profanity and say it in the most immature way and articulate it so badly that they won't realize how offended and how upset I am and how I don't want it for the next game. It's like,
I think
grow
the thing
up.
that people forget with that as well is, right, there's literally a logical process on how the information gets to the dev team. So if you're screaming at the top of your lungs, it's going to be a community manager that sees it. The community manager's job is to make sure, whilst we're there to make sure, the game gets sold and, people are there, etc., etc., we need to make sure, as my priority, because no one else's responsibility is to make sure that the community stays a positive place where people actually want to be part of it.
Yeah.
So even if the message you're trying to convey to Capcom is completely 100% correct and you're 100% right in the fact that this feature is broken or this needs to be fixed, if you do it in a manner which is showing qualities which are horrible, I don't want to have anything to do with you. And you're not going to be looked after by the CMs in the same way that you would expect to be looked after. And we probably, sounds quite bad, but you kind of get like blacklisted a little, because that's not what we want to, we don't want to promote those values, because then when you see someone else doing that kind of behavior and being rewarded for it, as in getting the things they scream and shout for, you're just going to have this baby who's, every time something goes wrong,
and it goes
tantrum,
beyond.
right?
I've seen some people, they're like, oh, well, you're not giving constructive criticism. I'm like, you could still give constructive criticism, but if you're giving it in the wrong way, people are going to distance themselves. There's like inappropriate tone.
Yep.
And there's just, and people just don't take that into consideration. It's like, you use a bad tone, people just don't want to associate with you, period. And it's kind of a waste, because if you have really good feedback, well, you just blew it. Good job, pal.
Absolutely.
It's like,
because
for us,
there's
it's
this.
perfect. Like if we have like an opinion as a community manager where we agree with that and we just need someone to give us the evidence, and you make a
you need
video
to quantify it,
or a tweet and someone's gone, hey, I'm going to logically explain to you why this sucks as a feature, and I'm not going to get mad about it, but I'm going to tell you why this needs to change. And I'm going to be like, you are amazing. I love you because you've done exactly what I need to show the higher ups what needs to change in the game. And that's exactly what we need. We don't need you to tell us we're bad at our jobs or tell us we suck as people or anything like that. We just need to know what you want to fix. And it's very tough to do, because obviously we're all addicted, and that's why people get so emotional about. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. But there's a balance to be had, I think, and the more that we treat each other with respect and understand that there's other people at the other side of this feedback, the more welcoming people are going to be willing to help in those scenarios.
It's a misconception, I feel like, on a lot. I even feel like on some audiences in general that watch like content that people make about games, it's a misconception that people think that we can't criticize games. Like, I've actually been asked on quite a few videos, how much did Capcom pay you to talk about this? And I'm just like, what? You actually think like, for starters, you have to disclose whenever you get paid, because otherwise it's illegal. In case people don't know, like, if you don't disclose it, that's actually illegal, and the company most likely will not work with you. Because like people, for instance, people give you know how whenever someone does like something with EA and they have to put in the EA Game Changers logo and whatnot, people give everyone like a really hard time for that. And I'm like, I can tell you right now, EA with the Game Changers program, I mean, now it's not Game Changers, they're changing the name to something else, but it's like, I actually think that EA was doing something that is interesting, because they basically force people to disclose. Like, you can't work with us unless you disclose that you've got this code from us, right? Like for instance, you never asked me to disclose anything. Obviously, it's assumed that every creator should. Whenever you get a code from someone, I would always say, okay, I got this from Capcom. I got this from... And every single Monster Hunter video of mine that has gameplay on it, if you scroll down to the description, you will see game provided by Capcom, and then there's a link to the Monster Hunter YouTube channel. The reason I do that is because if you put a link to like anything outside of YouTube, like YouTube hates that. Because like
Right.
people click on your video, then they click away from the website. It's like, no, this video is bad. It made people leave our website. So I always try to link to other YouTube places that the people
Right.
that got me games work. And so it's like, hey, here's a link to their stuff, but on YouTube, because that way YouTube's not going to be mad at me when people click this.
Right.
But yeah, people get this idea, right? And then they also get the idea that's like, oh, you can't criticize something, otherwise they'll be mad at you and they won't, give you codes or anything. And it's like, how many videos did I make criticizing Cold to Rot? Did it ever upset you, Socks? Did it ever upset you?
Not at all. Not at all.
There you go.
That's exactly what we want. Like that's our jobs as community managers, to take that feedback on. Like we want that discourse. It's just a shame that like platforms like Twitter don't necessarily allow that to happen as freely. I think YouTube is a nice platform to have the space to talk about stuff and people can listen. But with Twitter, it's so like black and white with your opinions that people kind of just they set up a fence instantly and feel like they're
I think we can also point a finger at modern media, right? Like if you look at like news outlets around the world, it's not just an American thing, it's everywhere around the world. Like just the way that everything has been, I think it's because the age of the internet, so to say, has become, there's so much traffic and so much information, bad information, good information, noise, right? Like in order to stand out, people are just giving, it's sound clips. How do I say something that's going to go viral in one sentence? Screw you, you're wrong. You go back to your cave, or like something crazy that's just it's all absolutes, right? It's like everyone turned Sith all of a sudden, and it's like dealing in absolutes. And it's like, no, you're an idiot. No, you're super. Oh, he called him out. And it's like he unloads. It's like, guys, this is horrible culture. Like that's not how you debate. That's like not how you discuss.
It's like that playground mentality. It's like, ooh, you're gonna let him get away with it.
Oh snap! He got ratioed, baby.
It's like the popcorn on the side. Yeah, like
I hate that stuff. So it's like as a kid when I saw like school fights or something, the thing that upset me more than anything to seeing two people actually try to physically harm each other is all the like hyenas around them, like just
like,
pack animals are like, yeah, get him. I'm like, you guys are disgusting. Like, why is nobody trying to break this crap up? Even dogs and cats don't do that.
Yeah.
Like they try to break up shit. It's like, it's not, I don't know. It's just this weird age in which everyone's seeing extreme reactions everywhere they are. And so that becomes the norm. And I think it's a very bad thing. So all I can do is like, as a parent, is just try to set an example by showing my child, like, this is how you criticize, this is how you critique, this is how you talk about stuff you don't like.
And then there's like
it's tough.
Mainstream media also trying to capitalize on like hate clicks with like that one article that was associating Monster Hunter World with colonialism and whatnot. And I was just like, what?
There was one time when and this is full disclosure. I don't if you're vegan, you do you. But there was one time when Peter came directly at Monster Hunter for attacking animals.
You ordered
in the
a
game.
veggie platter.
Yeah, and you're like, hold up, it was like these are fantasy beasts that are supposed to be attacking places. Like this isn't, farm animals and stuff that we're killing for fun. This is you're doing a job here. It's a little bit different. But it's just so weird that they felt the need to come at Monster Hunter.
I did the Mighty Monster Hunter series for a while with a very good friend of mine, and he's vegan. And he plays bow, but he would always eat the veggie platter. And then he's like, I can't believe I keep asking for the veggie platter. They keep giving me meat.
And now you just say no, the technology in Monster Hunter World is so good that it looks like meat and tastes like meat, but it's all plant-based
stuff.
It's that what's it? Impossible Burger. That's what it is. Yeah.
So I wanted I wanted to ask you about something that upset me quite a bit when it happened. And I'm sure that you probably have something to say about this as well, but it was the release of Alatreon. You remember how much that divided the community?
Yeah. I can talk about this a little bit. I really like the Alatreon fight.
Yeah,
I think the fight itself is great.
It's amazing.
I think the fight is amazing. I think it's one of the
top
best 3 or 4 fights
ever.
in the game. I feel like what was unfortunate was that we did a very bad job of preparing people for that kind of challenge in the game. Normally, when you have raid like encounters in other game series or end game encounters, the game slowly teaches you up to that point that you need to prepare for this fight. And although Monster Hunter does have the elemental mechanics with all the other and the weaknesses, it's quite forgiving in that you don't actually really have to wear the right element to go into a fight and
most of the times the raw damage is better than having the opposing element, unfortunately.
Exactly. World was very raw focused, and I think even though Iceborne, whilst it did have like the changes to element, it's still, people will go in with the company sets. You don't want to build a set for every monster. You just want to have your one set that you go in with your weapon, and you have a great time. So I feel like because the game didn't naturally do a good job of teaching that to people in the way that some games do, the fact that players were unprepared made that something that they were quite frustrated by. So I understand the reaction. I don't necessarily feel like it's a bad fight. I feel like it's kind of like where you've gone, oh, well, that's annoying. When you... How do I describe this? When you play some games where there's like a platforming section where when you do the platforming section right, but then you get slapped by something that you could have never seen coming. And the idea is that you have to learn that level off the back of your hand to expect over and over again to what's going to pop up randomly to kill you. Like Ghosts and Goblins, that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
Metroid Dread recently had quite a few things like that.
No spoilers. I'm still working my way through that one.
But skeletons in the closet is a good way to piss people off. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like that was basically this game's skeleton in the closet. So I feel
jump
like
at it, you're like, whoa, what the hell? It's like,
exactly. Why am I getting slapped up by this fight? Well, let me check out your build. Why are you having to look at my build for? Because this monster surprisingly actually has a really large focus on making sure that you're prepared before the fight rather than actually being prepared during the fight. And it was weird. Like I did a stream on the day of release, and we didn't get like the elemental checks done. And I was like, okay, guys, I'm not trying to be horrible to people. I just want to look at your builds to see how I can improve them to ensure that we can go in. And they're like, oh, he's roasting people's builds. He's being horrible. I was like, no, it's just that we want to do this fight together. I'm happy to work with the same team that we've gone in with, but we need to check your loadouts to see how many, what weapons you're using, etc. And I was like, right, you need to change this. And then we started getting the checks in, and I think we got the Alatreon on the first 2 hours of like the stream. Wow. And it was only because you have to only because I had the inside knowledge, I was able to go like, no, this is that important that you guys need to have this on your sets. So yeah, I think I understand why people complained. I get why. I don't feel like it's a bad fight, but I definitely feel like the fault is on us for allowing that to happen.
Yeah,
because if that had been like communicated better, even in the lead up, to be like, hey man, make sure you've got your elemental build sorted, then it wouldn't have been.
Yeah. The rules of this game are going to be a little bit different,
have
just
a
grace
couple
where
of,
like this is not a typical hunt.
Have a couple of hunts where like the ace, the kid from the ace commander just goes like, hey, you really should try out like some dragon element or something on this monster, and then try out some fire element on this thing, and maybe have some kind of special effect that would proc from them using that, because that would kind of like motivate players to use the elemental. Because I've always been obsessed with elements. Like I would always make different weapons with different elements to go against the elemental affinity, and it was always bad because raw always ruled.
But so this is the thing. That's the thing. Like it feels like the reward for learning that stuff wasn't quite there. To then have that be the reward at Alatreon.
I actually,
it just seemed like,
and even for Alatreon, to give you an idea, like I don't know if I made a video on this. I think I did. But even for Alatreon, like I tested it and I made like a full raw set and then a set that went so deep into elemental damage. Like every single bit of elemental damage that you could get, I put in that set to really just like go above and beyond. And it's like, it didn't matter because raw still did more damage. Like I would go up to the monster, slap it with the thing that it was weakest with everything on element, and then I'd slap it with a raw. It's like, see, it still deals more damage. It doesn't matter. You just need it for like the. As a matter of fact, like I was trying to do like solo runs in Alatreon. It took me like 13 hours to get a run that I was happy with. Like I was just running Alatreon over and over for 13 hours, and basically when I started seeing the better runs was when I actually started reducing the elemental damage, which was very counterintuitive because like This whole fight
Right.
is about elemental damage, and I'm reducing elemental damage to get more raw to get better results on this fight. It doesn't make
Right.
sense.
But that's where you've got to the point where you've like now min-maxed it, right? Because
Yeah.
you're trying to work out how much element you can get away with not having to then still get the procs that you need to
Yeah.
then still do enough damage. And that shows that you've understood what the fight's trying to teach you, and now you're trying to see how far you can break the rules in terms of what you need to do. And that's quite a fun thing that you've that's quite an exciting thing to have in like an understanding of game. But for a lot of people, they're not even getting to that point where they understand that element is what I need to actually win this fight. That's the law. Now let me see how I can then work around it. They just go in with like, oh yeah, I'm just going to use this build that I've been using to farm with for the last 3 years, and now it's not working, and the game hasn't actually told me why.
That's one of the things, because like whenever we had those events, I would always try to do like streams on YouTube, because I'd get a lot of people coming in. I'd be like, okay guys, anybody can join. I will do my best to like bring you through the Alatreon fight so that you can get it and you can like have fun. And what I did was basically I made a gun lance build, which was just slap lance. And the whole idea behind that build is just because like the gun lance, for some reason, I don't know who told me, but they went into the game files or whatever, and they told me that like gun lance had like a really big modifier for elemental damage for that fight specifically. So I put so much elemental damage in my gun lance that I was just like, you guys don't even need to bring elemental weapons. I'll get all the trips. You don't even have to, you just have to not die and we'll be fine. I'll get all the elemental trips. Yeah. And it was so cool.
I got to ask, like, there's two ideas that are two things that I've always had in the back of my head about the Alatreon fight, because it's my second favorite fight ever in the franchise. I love it. But I'm just kind of curious, like, what you guys might think about it. One is, I've always been bugged that elemental damage is not communicated to the player. Like, they don't know how much elemental damage they are or are not doing, which is why when I got the opportunity to ask questions to the dev for Rise, one of my specific questions was, is there any option in the training room to see elemental damage? Because I think, you know, as players are communicated more and they get feedback, they'll know if they're doing the right thing or the wrong thing, right? I mean, that's kind of why hit lag is so important and stuff like that, right? So I was kind of thinking, like, I think what the fight could have used is a visual indicator. Like, maybe Alatreon has like something on its front legs or something on its horns or something that changes in color as it gets closer to that threshold. Something to communicate, okay, you're not even close. Or, oh wow, you just got it down like halfway through its threshold this fast. Okay, keep doing what you're doing. Like, I mean, I wouldn't put a bar on there or a number, but like there should be some type of visual feedback letting people know how close they are to breaking that elemental barrier. I think that would have been nice. Sort of like, I'm not going to mention the name of the game, but there's a game where you can tap a button and you can sort of see a color representation of how far along you are, and it gets you thinking. It's like, maybe if there was some visual feedback, that would have been like Raging Brachydios, right? Like, he's got the slime that just blows up after when you hit it, and it pisses you off, but you know that it's about to blow up because there's visual clues that tell you, hey, it's starting to get darker. Okay, it's going to blow. Like, be careful. So it's on you. But there's nothing that tells you in the Alatreon hunt, you know, how are you doing elemental-wise? Did you get close? Or were you, like, are you still far off? You don't know.
Yeah, I would argue that that's something that should be put in, maybe not necessarily in that fight alone, but also in earlier fights in the game. So if you're fighting specific elders or, you know, tougher beasts where you have to bring an element to them and you pop them when they do a trip or something along those lines, and you kind of taught the player that, hey, like, yeah, sure, elemental is used for damage, but also it's used to keep things in check. I didn't even learn about the I always forget the name of it now, Ebony or the Garen. Ebony or the Garen, you can like pop him out of his dragon mode by using the water, which I was just like, what? This is something I've never ever experienced before. And it's not. And it feels like if that was made more deliberate, that you felt like you needed to bring water on that fight, then it will kind of be teaching players in advance that there will be some fights later in the game where you have to make sure that you've got the right element equipped with you, because you don't see it enough. I think it's a really cool mechanic, and it just felt like it was a lost opportunity where if it was just communicated well enough either by us on social beforehand or just during the actual like the progress that players have in the game, that could have been the pinnacle fight for more people, rather than the ones that just kind of understand how Capcom works when it comes to Monster Hunter and developing stuff. Do you know what I mean?
The other point that I think that still doesn't sit too well with me is like I get it. Like there's some fights like the Arc Tempered Velkhana or even Fatalis to a degree where the timer is a consideration. Like they're meant to push you to be aggressive. That's the point of the hunt, is that if you're not aggressive, you're going to time out. And that's just the way. And the game does a good job of hinting at that, like to your point about the game dropping the little hints. It's like there's a 30-minute timer on this or 35 minutes. It's not the regular timer. So you sort of, oh shit, I think there's something going on with the time here. They need me to be aggressive, you know, and there's very clear, and those monsters have very clear phases too, right? So you know how far you are progress-wise to getting towards the end. So if you're like, okay, I used all 30 minutes and I got him to like phase 2 and there's 4, okay, I got out my game, right? There's feedback, even though it's indirect. But with the Alatreon hunt, the one thing that always felt a little weird was break the horns to stop it from changing elements, right? But when you break the second horn, you are now on a march towards death because you cannot break its horn again, and it will change element again. And then it's going to render your elements completely useless. So whether the game is telling me, oh, you still have 35 minutes. No, I don't. No, unless I'm a solo player, that is just a lie. I do not have 35 minutes because in 10 minutes or 5 minutes, he's going to change element again, and my ice is going to be useless unless I die and get to swap my element. Like, I think they could have rewarded the players for saying, okay, if you broke the horns, it just won't change element again.
Yeah,
or at least just be more honest about it, like saying, 10 minutes until Alatreon blows up the world. Like, go, go, go. Like it just warned the player, like, okay, now you're on a time. The next time it does its judgment, we're screwed. Like, you've got to bring down the beast before that happens.
See, I always saw it as that the game was giving you the choice of going, if you're that confident, use the opposite element at the start, because you had the fire and the ice versions, right? That you would get as the starting one, but you could just go in with Dragon, and Dragon would do like okay damage to him, and you could still get an elemental check out of him.
Actually, Dragon was the worst. You're better off because Ice and Fire were the
water
best ones. So you're better off going Thunder or Water, and because Dragon was actually really bad.
Yeah, I remember that now. So it felt like picking the a fire or ice weapon was like the confidence check to be like, that you're going to get him done in like the second run or whatever, rather than having to worry about him changing again. I do agree. It did feel like it was a little bit punishing for people that maybe didn't know that.
Or just don't play as aggressive, right? Like, yeah. And if the game still's like, no, I want you guys to have to be aggressive, then okay, well, at least communicate that, right? But it's like literally if you've got 2 more phases until it's tea time, and the problem is that some people, that's 30 minutes of their time that they put into it, and because they can no longer get checks and they don't have, they're good at hunting and not dying, but they're slower, they're not going to make it, and the game's not telling them, and then they just don't make it, and they're like, what the hell? Like, it felt cheap. So, but I still love the hunt so much. It's so good. But, I mean, I think one thing that's not stated enough, though, is as much as there was controversy and outcry about that hunt, just with people just, not liking the fact that it is a special rules, or like it is a special hunt that is asking you to do something that the game normally doesn't do. There was also like a lot of people who came together. Like, I really loved seeing the community come together and help each other. I don't think it excuses like some of the improvements that could be done to that formula going forward, but there's something to be said about how many, like get involved with like tutorials, trying to help people, like Ruri going on, like, I'll help you guys, and look, carrying each other, and like
you can still look.
I really
you can
like
still
that.
look for like Alatreon, Rurikhan on YouTube. And those aren't even all of them, because I also did a bunch of them on Twitch, because I'll stream on both websites, right? But like on YouTube, you'll find like at least 3 or 4 sessions of a bunch of hours where I was literally just doing that nonstop. Like, I had everything I needed. Like, I'm done with this fight, but I was like, fine, let's go. Let's bring everybody in, everybody that's struggling. And the funny thing was, there was even people that weren't like Hunter rank 100. So those were particularly challenging because they wouldn't even have like their best augments. So like the monster just like sneezes in their general direction, they're dead. Meanwhile, while they're dying, I'm like running head first into when he's doing frost breath, because that's actually a massive opening. And I was like, I don't care. I'll take the damage. Let's go. That was fun, dude.
But what a hunt. I'll never forget it, which is why I don't until recently, until my daughter got me into it, I don't generally collect or display figures and plushes, but that all changed this year when I think, being at home now, I can appreciate them more, with remote working and stuff like that. So I can enjoy it with my daughter. Like, we play with the dolls. We have, I've posted some funny little small clips on my YouTube before, but we play daily with these things and the figures and stuff. But I actually bought the Fatalis one that's coming in December. So I got the first run one. It's like
nice.
$300.
Damn.
And it's like huge. But the thing is like, that was such a moment, not only for me and my daughter playing the game and bonding over that fight, but the community in general. Like, that is it's such a moment. That was special. Speaking of Fatalis, didn't Fatalis just come out today for Stories 2? I haven't faced it yet.
Did. I'm actually, this is quite bad, but I haven't actually completed Stories in the traditional sense. I've got up to the end of like the final boss fight, but I haven't even touched Fatalis or any of the higher rank stuff at all.
Well, you have lots to have fun then.
Yeah, I've got lots to play through. Yeah, it was during like it's because it released during like my last few months at Capcom when I was kind of like, I need to get out, I need to move on and do other things. So I kind of like left a lot of games that I was working on to like the wayside. I think Ride was the only one that I didn't like put on the back burner. But yeah, Stories and Great Ace Attorney got put definitely on the back burner. To jump on those.
How about you, Ruri? Have you tried it yet, or?
No, I haven't. I mean, you're talking about the hard mode Fatalis, right? No, I haven't. I haven't tried it because the thing about it is that you need to do those in multiplayer because like the AI is really, at least from my experience with Kolf to Roth, which was it the harder Kolf to Roth? I don't even know if it was the harder Kolf to Roth.
The hard one.
It was the hard. Was it okay? It might have been the hard one. So I bring in the AI. No, it was even like Bolt Reaver or something that I couldn't get through because the AI was just
You were saying Bolt Reaver was hard for you.
It was Soul Reaver. Soul Reaver was the one where I was like, okay, this is the AI cutoff point.
Soul Reaver. Are we making up new monsters now?
So Soul Reaver is a different game franchise, isn't it?
Wait,
I think you're blending Soul Seer and Bolt Reaver.
Dude, Soul Reaver's an amazing
Hellfrost.
game. Don't mess with
Hellfrost would be a cool monster.
Soul Reaver's that
Legacy of
PS1
Kain.
game.
Yeah, Legacy of Kain.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing.
Don't say the S word though. You're getting me.
I've always been fascinated about that blade in his hand. That's why Soul Reaver kind of just like lives free.
Right.
But Soul Seer Mizutune was the AI cutoff point because I was like, the AI is useless because they kept like they wouldn't even heal themselves. They would just like die. It's just like, I'm just going to die. And I'm just like, well, now we're dead because he's going to do the thing where he's going to take 2 hearts and we're dead. Doesn't matter what I do because I can't heal you and me at the same time. And you're not going to heal yourself. So that's it.
Right.
So that's when I first started bringing in people specifically for those fights. And I feel like that for Fatalis, I would probably have to stream and bring someone in to help me with because the AI are not going to cut it. Yeah.
That's a shame.
Yeah, I actually spent 3.5 hours last night grinding in Yuna's game because she doesn't like the grind.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, Stories 2 does have a very heavy level grind, but luckily you can get through all the content the game has to offer, including the end game stuff, without doing this grind, which is good. But we hit some wall with the hard version of Kolv, where I think there's a hidden level check that we accidentally found. Because she was using the exact same weapon, the exact same armor, the exact same charm, hitting her. I'm doing 800. She does 2 damage, and it's like, there must be like level, it's like a bitter. There's like a bitter black isle. It's looking for a level, and if you're not at it, then sorry, the calculations don't like you.
Must be this tall to ride this ride.
Yeah. So I grinded her to level 73, which I assume is the cap, is my assumption. Because 73 is when you can start one-shotting the secret Elder Layer. So I'm assuming that's going to be the sweet spot. So I sure hope so, because to get her from 70 to 73 took me 3.5 hours and over 160 fights, I think.
Damn.
Oh, wow.
It's just like, it's heavy.
Just
so
going through
I'm
3
hoping
times
now,
speed, let's go.
or even like if you want to go through like the Elder Layer 6 and just, one-hit shot everything and just get back in there, run shot everything, like with the buttons where you can insta-kill.
R2 and
it still takes you so long. It's like 60 something for each level,
Oh man,
It's like, oh, yeah, that was rough. So I'm excited to try it out tonight with Yuna, who just came home. And I'm super pumped for Silver and Gold coming up at the end of this month because they look really cool. It's kind of weird that they're coming after Fatalis, but maybe they're going to be the ones that help.
The Dread King is out already, right?
Yeah.
Does Dread King have that gene that I wanted? Because I haven't been playing Stories 2 in a while. Does he have that gene I want from Ratha? Ratha has that gene that gives you 30 kinship?
I don't know because, I mean, out of the Fated 4, he's the most boring and bland one. Even Arekkz Gaming can tell you that.
Why you gotta be like that, man? Why you gotta slander the Dread King? I like Dread King.
I'm not.
You know, I'm saying this, but I'm going to make an admission to you guys right now that I just lost a Yahoo auction and I bid over $100 trying to get the plushie for Hellblade.
Oh
so
no!
I don't actually hate the monster. This is just a joke between friends. Like literally, that happened yesterday. So
I personally like Astalos the most.
So I don't know. I mean, I carry. It's never been my focus. Like, and now with Molten Tigrex in the game, oh my god, is he cool? That's my boy. I mean, that's like my number 2 favorite monster of all time outside of Bloodbath.
Really?
So like having him in the game, like, oh my gosh. You want to talk about where I learned how to use Charge Blade? Molten Tigrex is where I learned how to use Charge Blade.
That's the video. That's the video I remember watching.
Yeah,
100%.
Because man, he roars and everything just dies within 5 feet of him. But that's an opportunity to Charge Blade combo the heck out of him. It's a great practice area.
Yeah,
really
100%. What's your favorite monster?
Okay, so you guys need to catch up. Come on.
My favorite monster is like right now it's a bit of a toss up because it used to be Seething Basil Goose because I just love explosions and Seething Basil Goose is just so good. But I don't know, Crimson Volstrax is so incredibly cool that it's kind of like a toss up between those two. I can't make up my mind which one I like most. Particularly because in Rise, Crimson just like he can ambush you even if you're not fighting him, which is so cool because like me and Gaijin realized that we were recording a video. Were we recording? I don't remember if we were just playing for fun or if we were recording a video for something, but that was the first time that I had seen it. Suddenly we're just like, dude, it says ambush right there on screen. It's like, but we're not even fighting and it's just boom. Like, what the hell? He just like swoops in, ambushes out of nowhere. Just like, dude, we were just fighting like Rachna Kadaki or something.
That was a fun moment.
Does not care in the slightest.
Yeah.
Okay, so I hit duds on the Stories 2 recent quests because I wanted to talk about them. But how about Squishy Ibushi, as I call him?
I haven't actually fought him yet, but I'm super curious. Is he harder than like regular Ibushi, or what's the deal with that?
I would say, like, I don't know about damage-wise. Someone said he does hit harder, but it's not like an advanced quest. He's not hitting that much harder, but he's got like over 40,000 HP. So
that's
it's
gonna
a good
suck for Gunlands.
It's a good 10-minute hunt. So he's not hard, but he's fun because it's finally you can actually just hunt him and carve him and get rewards from him, so you can finally make his awesome weapons. So I enjoyed it, but I mean, I wanted a Super Ibushi. We didn't get it, but I'm thinking, okay, you know what? Maybe they'll give us a Super Ibushi, Super All-Mother. That would make sense. Like, I don't expect Narwa to be a super version either, but I'm like, if they don't give me the advanced, the All-Mother is back, and both of them are just like jacked, like I'm going to be very, very sad. Because I'm waiting for that quest.
And
in the same way, I'm
about it.
And in the same way, I'm horribly sad that so far we don't have any hints whether or not we'll ever get to fight the story boss for Stories 2 again. I won't say anything more than that, except Socks, you're gonna love it when you get to it because you have.
Oh no, I've done the story boss. I believe the
story boss is so freaking cool.
Yeah,
I mean, like,
cool.
I'm not dissing Stories 1 because Stories 1 was a great game, but like the last boss of that game was like whatever. Like, totally unmemorable. This one, though, chef kiss. Like, it was really cool. I would have loved the ability to fight it again or make some gear out of it.
What about the double Apex Diablos? Is that like also
that was fun?
Is that spruced up damage numbers or no?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay.
But it's like a small one and a big one, and that one I found really fun.
Okay, because
I
like
haven't touched Rise for like 3 months.
but he hits pretty hard to begin with, so it's a little hard to tell. They might be, but it doesn't have the. I mean, people think I overstate it, but having the advanced tag on a quest really does mean that their modifiers are like jacked up, like hardcore. Right. And so the fact that it doesn't have it tells me that it might be a slightly harder quest, but it's not like, like fake master rank, like right in the middle. It's like
I want more quests.
I want that.
Like Apex Mizutsune and Apex and Ogre, because like that quest took a lot out of me because it was hard. It was actually.
That's because you're using Gunlance.
You're right. You're 100% right, and I proved it because I swapped the longsword and I killed them both first try, playing like complete crap. I'm not joking.
The Sword and Shield, the Sword and Shield is so good, and this is why the Charge Blade was made.
No, but
the Charge Blade, I think, in the next game is going to step up. It's going to be crazy.
I actually did this on stream.
Whoever looked after Sword and Shield in Rise was trying to get their vengeance on Charge Blade.
Oh, they got it. They got it. Because Charge Blade's like, what can KO monsters better than a Charge Blade and Hammer? Sword and Shield.
Yeah, I've got like
what can guard point better?
Builds.
Sword and Shield.
Sword and Shield. Yeah, there you go.
What does better elemental damage? Sword and Shield.
One of the times that I randomly just joined like Sox's game, he's playing with the high ninja sword, and he's just doing something with probably like, I'm assuming, max slugger and whatnot, because like the monsters did not move. It's like stunned, slobbering, stunned, slobbering, and I'm like, wow, all right, this looks fun.
It's so much fun because you don't have a shield in your right hand, so it just feels like you're wailing on the monster with like your raw fist. It's so cool.
Yeah, the fist.
So when you do the uppercut, like it's actually like you uppercutting the monster. It's amazing.
That's why I use for the rampage weapons, I use the Mizutsune fan, because it's the same deal. You got a fan, but the other one is a bracelet, so you're just punching monsters. It's great.
This is it.
I actually really like shields, so I take offense to a lot of those weapons, but okay. But did you do the Super Rajan quest, Sox, or no?
I did not know.
That was really fun.
Yeah.
That, and I did not know, I think I mentioned it last podcast, I did not know that Street Fighter character had such a bopping soundtrack. Like, his theme was
that
was great.
Kuma's theme is ridiculous. Yeah. So good.
Rajang, optional, just kicks your butt. Like, I really had a good time with that one.
I do need to jump back on Rise.
Yeah, I actually did that one after getting, because like first I killed him because I'm like, I'm not getting Akuma's armor before I kill him. I killed him, and I think I carded like once or twice. And I was like, okay, now I have to do it without carding. And I was like, but now I have Akuma's armor, so I'm just going to go in there as Akuma. And then I just tweeted like, Rajang's testicles? You mean my speed bag? Because Akuma just like punching everything.
Oh my gosh.
Some fun times.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the PC version now. For me personally, I don't think I'm going to touch Rise and Switch for a hot minute.
You're going to go for that 4K 60 FPS. You're going to go in fresh.
That's right.
Yeah, let's just wait.
Absolutely.
And get in there fresh.
Yeah.
What weapon?
144.
I'm going to go Sword and Shield again.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, I'm going to go Sword and Shield. And it's going to be fun to play on the Steam Deck as well. I think that's what I'm kind of looking forward to. See it getting like 60 frames on that too. Like, I do like my handheld gaming, but yeah, the Switch version of Rise, while it is amazing, doesn't run as good as a PC. And I kind of want to see. I'm trying to be nice about it, but that's the best thing I can say, really. Like,
it's like I feel like the Switch is a fantastic console, so long as you don't mind making the 60 FPS concession on a lot of games. That's just the way that it is, and I still love the Switch. And I'm actually undecided as to whether I'm going to main Sunbreak on Switch or PC. I'm a little bit undecided on that, but I still have to think about it. But at this point, I'm definitely going to replay Rise on PC because they just delayed Elden Ring. So it's like, well, okay, I'm going to have plenty of time to burn, so I'll be fine.
This is true. This is very true. Yeah, I just, maybe for me, from like seeing it internally, you saw that the PC audience for like WoW lasted longer in like for streams and stuff than the console audience. So I feel like if I'm looking to want to keep playing this game for a long period of time, it looks like that community might be the one that lasts longer than like perhaps the Switch one. We'll see how it goes when the game finally comes up. But yeah, I'm swapping over to PC. That's coming from a Nintendo fan as well. I'm a big Nintendo fan, but I'm swapping over to PC for this one.
Yeah, I mean, I tested out like all of the graphical features and stuff on it, and one of the ones that I hope that they change a little bit is the what do they call it on there? Lands distortion. Even though like I've seen it being referred to as chromatic aberration. Like, I hope they give it, like, a subtler option, because they have that in Bloodborne and Destiny 2.
It's
and I think
really
actually,
strong, though.
It's really good. But like,
it was intense, wasn't it?
It was
really
super intense. That, and, like, if you go into heavy motion blur, like, you better not suffer from motion sickness, because you're going to hurl. Like, it's going to be insane.
I put a video up on...
Can you imagine, like, doing dual blades going up like All Mother with that? Like, you'd be like...
We put a video up on Arekkz Gaming where we put every modifier on to like maximum, so it was like the vignette and the lens blur and the motion blur and the film grain, and it's just like this is intense. Like, this is like the intended way to play.
No,
I don't want this. I don't want this.
As a matter of fact, it was actually very refreshing to see a developer have motion blur off by default, because most developers will turn it on because, like, look, we worked on this, enjoy this, and it's like the gaming community keeps saying, we don't like this. It's like, you can give it to us as an option, but we don't like it. Stop.
See, I quite like motion blur in my games. I've never been offended
subtle
by its presence. Yeah.
Like, subtle motion blur. The thing is also like, since you're now going into the content creator sphere, let me tell you, you don't want to stream with games with motion blur on, because both Twitch and YouTube will murder your... Like, YouTube will literally just grab your video, take it behind the shed, and
pixelate it.
It's just like, kill it. Put all the pixels
Absolutely.
in there. But, yeah.
But I think that's a great segue to go into something that I think would be fun for people to hear, which is, you know, you served us so well as community manager for Monster Hunter, and we're forever grateful for that. But... what is new on the horizon for Sax? What are you... I know you've made some announcements, but I would love you to talk a little bit more about it here.
I joined the Arekkz Gaming team in September. That was probably one of the deciding factors why I was finally leaving Capcom. So I'm going to be working with Arekkz, 269 and Paradise Central on all sorts of content and a lot of stuff behind the scenes, which is going to be very, very cool. They've got a brand called Endgame, which they do to make like a lot of licensed. You see the license. Yeah, the store with the Switch.
That Switch case looks sexy as hell. I'll tell you.
It's pretty dope, man. It's pretty dope. Yeah, it's a good case. It's pretty solid. So yeah, I'm gonna be helping out with that kind of stuff, and doing a lot of behind the scenes stuff for a change, which would be quite nice. I know that I've been doing like content creation for a company, as it were, for like the last 5 years, and it's nice not necessarily to have to be the main face of a brand as such for a while. So yeah, it's going to be good putting my feet up for a little bit.
But I mean, I remember I gave you compliments when you put out that video for the Wirebug. Although I was also upset because I was like, God damn it, I wanted to make that video, and you released it before I could even play the demo and make the video myself. I hate you. But at the same time, it was a really good video.
Oh, thanks, man. Thanks. Yeah, that was a lot of effort. I kind of just took notes from Alex, really. Way back in the World days, he did like the 14 like weapon workshop videos.
Yeah.
And he put a lot of effort into like breaking that stuff down. And I was like, I could do a similar style for like Rise, because that's really what a lot of my job boiled down to then, is trying to get people who maybe were interested in Monster Hunter but didn't quite know how to get into it, and kind of giving them the tools to kind of get hooked into the game. So I just figured that was the best way to go about it. Yeah, all my video editing skills I basically learned from Alex over the years.
So wait, you edited that video as well? Because like obviously I recognized your voice in the video instantly, but like I was wondering if like Capcom had like an actual editor to do all of the stuff. Or did you do everything in that video? We're talking about the Wirebug 101 video for people that don't know.
So the Wirebug 101 video was edited by me and put together by me.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, a lot of the videos that have my voice on them, have been edited by myself, if not Yuri. The two of us basically.
I'm surprised because like I thought you would have just like done the voice and maybe the gameplay, and then just like hand it off to someone?
Pass it
no.
on.
No, so what used to happen before was I don't know if you guys remember, but Brian, the previous Street Fighter brand manager, used to voice the videos before. So I used to script them up. I used to get into voicing because he does video, and then I would edit the videos. Cause I didn't really want to be the voice of the brand. But he left Capcom, so then I had no choice but to voice the videos, which is why I fell on my plate. But yeah, I've been basically editing videos since I started at Capcom, really. I used to use Final Cut back in the day, but when things started getting a little bit more hectic, I was like, Alex, you to teach me how to do this stuff better.
Premiere,
Premiere became the thing to jump on. And now it's kind of my job.
you don't actually have. Do you have like your own YouTube channel? Or you're just gonna like put stuff on Arekkz's YouTube channel?
I've been putting stuff on Arekkz's channel for like the last 2 months or so already. Yeah, I don't want my own channel.
Okay.
I'm quite, even though like everyone's, oh yeah, it's great, we're gonna see like your face on the channel and stuff.
No,
I'm
you're not.
looking forward to. Yeah, no, you're not.
This is it, guys. This is
You get
the
to
final
watch
quest.
here exclusively on the Third
Yeah.
Fleet podcast.
This is it. Yeah, just because I'm not really a people person. Like I like talking to people, but I don't.
Wait, you're in the wrong job, dude.
I mean, this is it. This is it. Yeah. So I thought
totally
I'd try.
understand what you're saying.
But actually, do you know what?
As someone who's represented by a 2D cat, I completely understand.
I'm going to put it out here now because I don't really talk about it on social media, but I actually I'm on the autistic spectrum, so for me, social interaction stuff is quite difficult. I just love games. I never actually wanted to get into marketing or that kind of social side of things. I've always worked in like QA or dev backgrounds. It was only when I worked at Curve, I got to remember now. It was Curve Studios at the time, which is now Curve Digital, which is now Curve Games. I was working on the QA team on a contract. My contract was running out, and then the marketing team were like, hey, we actually think you'll be really good in social media. Like, we see how you talk on Facebook and Twitter and stuff like that. So when your contract ends, we're going to hire you as a marketing assistant. I was like, okay, cool, sweet. As my contract ended, the QA, the director of the company at the time was like, no, actually, I want you to stay in QA. I'd rather have you here, so we're going to give you a QA contract with more money instead. I was like, okay, fine. I'll take the QA contract. But at that moment in time, I realized, that, oh, maybe development isn't necessarily like the thing that I need to be in. Maybe I could do marketing. At that same time, I was getting more into the Monsanto events in London. I met the CM for Monsanto, Jake. I met Adam as well online, and because I was friends with Alex I've been friends with Alex since like 2010, 2011, because we used to work at Microsoft together. We've been mates for years. So I'm slowly kind of getting into like the marketing side of things.
What is up with Microsoft Europe breeding all these legends?
I don't know. You just breed legends, I guess.
All these alumni.
Just the way it is. It's it's wild. I forgot where I was going with this, really. But yeah, that's basically how I got into it. Like I didn't have any marketing experience or whatever. It kind of just something that happened. So because the challenge of having to talk to people and being autistic was something that I thought that would be a good thing to develop, I figured why not go for it? You know, you've already kind of hit every other challenge like head on. Might as well try this one too. See how it goes on. So that even in the interview, they were like, "How do you feel like what's your biggest challenge?" I'm like, I just don't like talking to people. Basically, it's going to be the hardest part of my job. I just don't like people, but we'll see how it goes.
It's just so weird. How are you going to be a community manager? You don't like to talk to people.
But it worked out, right? People see me as like this guy that's really approachable. And they know. So I think I did a good job.
You've done a fantastic job. As a matter of fact, I remember I would actually have to tell my community when you would stop by the stream. It's like, listen, guys, when he's here, he's not the CM, okay? He's just another dude just enjoying Monster Hunter, so that you would be able to actually just enjoy yourself without having people ask, "Hey, Socks, what's the next monster? Socks, what's the?" Because like everybody would instantly jump on you the second you jump on a stream, and I was always like, "No, leave him alone. Let the man be."
I appreciate that. Yeah. I think you and Mr. Cups both were the same. I'll jump into your stream and you were like, guys, just leave him alone. He just wants to watch some premium gameplay, all right? Just let him enjoy it. Yeah.
So did you I don't know if you know or met or if you had parting words of wisdom to was it Jono or Jono?
Yeah, so Jono's actually a friend of mine in real life as well.
Oh, nice.
So me, him, and Alex all like work out and stuff, and we'll have a little little group. So yeah, Jono's amazing. So when I first joined at Capcom 2016, I then had to go to Gamescom 2 weeks after, not knowing what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm there having a drink with my boss at the time outside a pub, which everyone kind of goes to at Gamescom. And Jono just walked up to me and was like, "Hey, you're the new community manager for Monster Hunter. Nice to meet you. I'm, Jono from Team 17." And I was like so happy that someone wanted to be friends with me on this side of the industry, because I was just like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I felt so out of my comfort zone. And he was so approachable and so nice. We just became like friends. So over the years, like me and him have bonded really. We'd like play Destiny together and stuff like that. So when it came to writing the handover notes, as it were, for the next person, me now loaded the knowledge knowing that it's Jono, it made my job so much easier rather than having to be like, here's what you know, here's what you don't. Like I could just cut all that riffraff out and just be like,
yeah.
this is business. Like let's get to it. So yeah, I'm so happy that someone that I personally can vouch for and know professionally is there looking after the job that I feel quite passionate about for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
I have I don't need to worry about what the state of Monster Hunter community manager is going to be. Like him and
I was
Yuri are
gonna
going
say,
to be just fine. It's going to be amazing.
It sounds like a phrase when I say that you leave big footsteps for someone to stand in, but you literally are like huge. Like, I don't know if people know this, but you are like you do leave big footsteps. I assume you are a big guy.
Yeah, I'm 6'4", and I got size 13. Size 13 feet.
Because I remember like when I met Socks, I think I was like, your chest would be like over here or something. I was like, looking at Socks like this.
That. And like Steffi who's the CM in Germany, she's short.
Yeah, she's like 5 foot nothing.
You must tower over her.
Yeah.
But in regards to Jono, I can tell you right now that it seems that like I was happy because he actually approached me, and usually whenever there's like a CM transition in a game, it's always like really bad for a lot of content creators, because like, oh no, this person I used to talk with all the time, now there's a new person, I'm screwed, they might not like me, they might not like my oh no. But Jonah just like instantly approached me and was like, hey, I don't know if you got contacted by the US team. And I'm like, oh no, he thinks I'm American as well. But he was like, hey, we can get you like access to the demo for PC and stuff. And then I was like, okay. But before all that, Jono, what is your main weapon in Monster Hunter?
What did he say?
He said
sword and shield.
Yeah, he said sword and shield. Yeah.
I was like, all right, we're going to get along just fine. Dude, if he had said long sword, I was like, oh no. I'm going to stop covering Monster Hunter. Like, this is it.
It's over. Shield and sword, I love it.
Oh yeah, but it was.
He's a good guy, Johnny.
He looks like
just
cool,
so people who don't know, because I'll give him the shout out here. So people don't know, because I don't think most people keep up with this stuff like we do. But the new community manager who's now taking the helm from Socks here is Jono Vanguard on Twitter.
Wait, his name is Vanguard? His last name is Vanguard?
I don't know. That might be a handle. I don't know.
May or may not be his
real name. I don't know.
It's not for me to confirm with the nice.
So that's that's his Twitter handle.
As far as I know, his name is John. I don't know.
Okay.
Or like Joe.
Because the way that you said it, it's almost like, oh, I'm on his LinkedIn. He's Jono Vanguard.
No.
And I was like, wait, his name is Vanguard? That's amazing.
No.
I want to be called Ruri Vanguard or something.
Oh, no.
I got confused.
No, but he there was so he joined in. So that's who we're talking about. In case for you guys who don't know, it's like, it's like, no.
But anyway, I know that Gaijin, you need to get back to Yuna before she starts giving you the stink eye. So
no, she already looked at me. She's she mouthed the Japanese name for Fatalis, like. Are we doing are we doing this or what, my man? It's like, come on.
Yeah, so we're gonna be wrapping it up here, guys. You'll be able to see a lot more content from Socks over on Arekkz Gaming. There'll be links in the description to both the Arekkz Gaming channel as well as Socks' Twitter. If you want to follow him on there, it is @SoxyBear. Don't do like me, because I once tweeted at an account at socks, and then they replied something about actual socks, like the clothing item. I was like, oh. And someone from my community said, Rurikhan, I think you made a mistake. You were trying to tag at socks about it. I was like, God damn it. So,
well, thanks for having me, guys, as well. It's been an absolute pleasure. I'm glad we finally had time to
it's
do
the
this.
least I could do. You quit your job just to be on the podcast. The least we could do is have you over.
Well, I do hope, I know we don't need to wish you the best, because I'm sure you're gonna do great. But I hope everything works great, and I hope you enjoy your behind the scenes time, because I know exactly what you're talking about when it comes to the front end versus the back end, and there's good things about and bad things about both.
Yeah,
but the back end is a nice place to be, so enjoy the time on there. And
thank you very much.
It's gonna be nice to finally, in a few years, once you don't know what's going on in the future of Monster Hunter, it's gonna be very fun to geek out and speculate with you, and they're like, oh my god, I wonder what they're doing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We can actually get excited together. I can't wait.
We definitely have to get you
Capcom
back.
lost you, but we got you back. So.
Exactly.
That's it.
Oh, man. Anyway, that is going to be it for this podcast, guys. If you enjoyed it, hit up with a like. If you did not enjoy it, hit up with dislike. Feedback's important. Links to all things Socks and Gaijin Hunter in the description. We'll see you guys in the next one. Stay strong. Stay safe. Last word, Socks. Say something.
Stay kind.
I like that.
Yeah.
Good
Yeah.
one.
Cool. Stay kind.
That's good.